Hello, and welcome to the Fire Chief Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to the Chief Medical Officer. I'm your host, Lee Scheinbart, and this podcast brings you the hottest and most crucial conversations in healthcare and physician leadership. This show began 6 months ago this week, and we're going to take a step back and reflect on the major themes, the lessons, and the conversations that have shaped our journey. Today, we're pausing to reflect on the guests, the ideas, and the moments that brought together this show over the past 6 months. This is the story of modern physician leadership as told by those on the front lines. The show was an idea that emanated from the desire to share the lived experiences of CMOs with those interested in the role and those curious about physician leadership in general. When the idea first surfaced, a colleague and I began to specifically discuss the role of the CMO in natural and man-made disasters such as with hurricanes, wildfires, blizzards, power outages, flooding, as well as with labor strikes, cyber attacks, hospital closures, and mass casualty incidents, just to name a few. There is zero training for CMOs in these areas, and we thought it would be relevant, if not super important, to get these stories out there for folks interested in physician leadership, especially if you are aspiring to the CMO role. The show has evolved and has created a variety of opportunities to share so many incredible lessons and pieces of wisdom from those experiences. If leadership can be summarized by the following phrase, not mine, mind you, but this phrase, leadership describes who you are and how you get stuff done, then this podcast fits that to a T. We have explored the value of your true north, your core values, your ability to lead yourself when it matters most, and how to put those things into practice when you need to get things done. We interviewed Dr. Ghazala Sharif, who holds a combined CMO and COO role at Scripps Health in La Jolla, California. And she reminded us that in a crisis, speed trumps perfection, but only when trust underpins every decision. By holding a dual role, when clinical and operational leadership converge, outcomes change. We heard how dual roles demand clarity, fast decision-making, and mutual trust, especially in the heat of crisis. She also emphasized the importance of physician involvement in operations at all levels. One of the key themes of our podcast involves the dual nature of physician leadership, to wear both the white coat and the organizational decision-making suit. And this theme has been repeated time and time again. We heard from the former U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Jerome Adams, who also told us about the fact that sometimes you don't have all the information, but you have to make a decision. And if you wait until you have 70% of the information, you've waited too long. And if you act before you have 40% of the information, you've acted too soon. So he taught us the importance of the 40-70 rule that he learned from a mentor of his. Another theme came up when we interviewed Lieutenant General Mark Hertling, retired from the U.S. Army, on the episode The Enemy Gets a Vote, involving crisis leadership and moral resilience. On the show, we covered misinformation, supply chain threats, cyber threats, and moral injury. General Hertling put it bluntly, the enemy gets a vote, and when they speak, your culture better be ready. Now, we are not talking about real enemies, but we are talking about the conditions of the healthcare battlefield that will disrupt your best laid plans. And Mark told us that moral clarity, not just tactical skill, is what gets teams through uncertainty. We took a hard look at crisis leadership, navigating information warfare, and Hertling reminded us that real resilience is forged in adversity. On the show, Let's Put Med Students in the C-Suite, with Dr. Stuart Marcus, we talked about literally putting medical students in a rotation with healthcare executives. And in A Bit of a Reluctant Leader with Dr. Chris Chisholm, we focused on the value of mentorship pathways. Out of these, among others, arose the theme of building intentional leadership pipelines. We've seen that tomorrow's CMOs need training today, whether through shadowing C-suite execs or early mentorship, prepping future leaders is essential. Dr. Marcus taught us we don't need to wait until residency to grow leaders. We can start in medical school. And he's right. We heard it over and over. Leadership is a practice, not a title. Medical students shadowing the C-suite, young docs stepping up. The future is already here. We just need to invite it in. The consistent through line, mentorship. As one of our guests said, a good mentor won't make your decisions, but they will teach you how to stand by them. With lawyers and former DJs, we took a look at interprofessional collaboration. On our show, Doctors versus Lawyers, with legal counselor Tim Norton, we explore the legal medical intersection and the keys for advocacy and policy making at the highest levels. While executive in residence with General Catalyst Stephen Klasko, former DJ turned CEO and healthcare innovator, Stephen shared the wisdom of patient centricity and innovation, and that collaboration isn't optional. It's mission critical. From legal counsel to creative innovators, every voice enhances patient care. Every guest taught us that great medicine doesn't happen in silos. These conversations remind us innovation lives at the edges, and unexpected partnerships fuel real change. Dr. Brian Vartabedian explored the realm of transactional versus interactional medicine, the value of real encounters, and the patient-physician moral duty. Every conversation reaffirmed this. Great leadership starts with character, transparency, trust, mentorship, and moral clarity. The best leaders we met weren't chasing status. They were building up the people behind them. Trust, transparency, and mentorship kept showing up again and again. Across these 6 months, we have consistently circled back to these themes involving leadership, and in the months ahead, we will be bringing you more of these amazing leaders and their lived lessons, and I will bet similar themes will continue to emerge. As an example of leadership, as I think back, one of the most memorable episodes showcased one of leadership's greatest strength, vulnerability, and the desire to create psychological safety. When listening once again to the conversation we had with Dr. Lara Johnson, Chief Medical Officer at Covenant Health in Lubbock, Texas, the epicenter of the measles outbreak earlier this year, I'm struck by the boldness and vulnerability of this leader and all of our guests. Whether confronting moral injury, structural complexity, or personal burnout, what ties everyone together is a sense of purpose, trust, and relentless focus on doing the right thing, always. Looking back, I'm inspired by the honesty, the humility, and the fire each guest brought to this mic. They showed us that leadership isn't about ego. It's about service. And as we look forward, we'll keep pushing towards what's next: smarter systems, stronger leaders, and safer care. Sickness never quits, and neither do we. Where there is a fire, you look for the firefighter. And behind each of those brave men and women, there's a fire chief. This is Lee Scheinbart, and you have been listening to the only podcast dedicated to the Chief Medical Officer. Thank you for listening.